Imagine a world where the very ideas of liberty and democracy are still in their infancy, a world ripe for change. In this world, a visionary emerges, a man who not only dreams of a society built on the principles of freedom and equality, but also acts to make it a reality. This man is Thomas Jefferson, a figure whose words and actions helped to shape a nation and whose legacy continues to influence the core values of the United States. Thomas Jefferson was born into the influential Randolph family of Virginia, a lineage that offered him a privileged start in life. In 1743, at the Shadwell plantation, the world welcomed a future revolutionary. His early education formed the bedrock of his Enlightenment ideals, with studies in classical languages, mathematics and philosophy at the College of William and Mary. Under the mentorship of Professor William Small, Jefferson was introduced to the works of British empiricists and other European intellectuals. This exposure was pivotal, as it shaped his understanding of liberty and justice, themes that would prominently feature in his later works and political ideology. Jefferson's formative years were also marked by personal tragedy with the death of his father, Peter Jefferson, which deeply influenced his views on personal responsibility and self-reliance. This event pushed him to manage the large estate inherited from his father, providing early lessons in leadership and governance. By 1767, Jefferson had embarked on his journey into public service, having been admitted to the Virginia bar. His legal career was just the beginning, as he soon entered the political sphere as a representative for Albemarle County in the Virginia House of Burgesses. During his tenure, Jefferson pushed for legislative reforms with varying degrees of success. He proposed several bills aimed at diminishing the power of the British over the colonies and sought reforms to the slavery system, although these were often met with strong resistance. His early political career was characterized by a growing disdain for tyranny, which aligned him with revolutionary sentiments brewing within the colonies. In the simmering heat of revolutionary America, Jefferson's eloquence and firm grasp of Enlightenment ideals brought him to the forefront of the Continental Congress in 1776. Tasked with drafting the Declaration of Independence, Jefferson penned a document that would become a lasting symbol of human rights and national autonomy. The Declaration emphasized the colony's right to self-governance and the inherent rights of individuals, echoing Jefferson's deep-seated beliefs in freedom and equality. Despite its immediate political function, the document's philosophical underpinnings, highlighting all men are created equal, laid a foundation for future legal and civil rights struggles. Jefferson's political career continued to ascend as he took office as the governor of Virginia in 1779. His governance was tested by the ongoing Revolutionary War, presenting significant challenges from logistical issues to British invasions. Despite these trials, Jefferson focused on reforms within Virginia, including religious freedom and educational improvements. His efforts to bolster the state's defenses were less successful, plagued by constraints in resources and manpower, which somewhat tarnished his reputation during this period. Post-war, Jefferson served as a minister to France from 1785 to 1789, a role that immersed him in the center of European intellectual and political life during the initial stages of the French Revolution. His time in France significantly broadened his perspectives, exposing him to radical ideas about democracy and society. Jefferson's diplomatic mission also involved complex negotiations on trade agreements and alliances. His correspondence with intellectuals like John Adams and James Madison during this period helped shape his evolving views on governance and human rights, further reinforcing his commitment to the principles he had earlier articulated in the Declaration of Independence. Returning to the United States, Jefferson was appointed the first Secretary of State under President George Washington. In this role, he found himself frequently at odds with Alexander Hamilton, the Secretary of the Treasury, particularly over matters of federal power and economic policy. These disagreements were profound, crystallizing into the ideological divisions that led to the formation of the Democratic-Republican Party, which championed a vision of a more agrarian, decentralized federal structure. Jefferson's tenure as Secretary of State established him as a champion of states' rights and limited government, principles that would later define his presidency. Jefferson's political influence expanded as he assumed the role of vice president under John Adams in 1797. During this period, his political ideologies continued to crystallize, particularly through his authorship of the Kentucky Resolutions, which posited that states had the right to nullify federal laws deemed unconstitutional. This period was marked by significant political strife and partisanship, setting the stage for Jefferson's own presidential bid. His time as vice president thus was not just a role of secondary importance, but a period of significant ideological development and political positioning. The election of 1800, often called the Revolution of 1800, was a pivotal moment in American history, demonstrating a peaceful transfer of power that solidified the young nation's commitment to democratic governance. As president, Jefferson pursued policies that emphasized minimal government interference and fiscal frugality, aligning with his vision of a republic rooted in agrarian values. One of his most notable acts was the Louisiana Purchase in 1803, which doubled the size of the United States and significantly expanded its territory westward. This acquisition was not just a triumph of diplomacy, but also a reflection of Jefferson's vision for the expansion of the Republic and its ideals of liberty and self-sufficiency. Jefferson's presidency also tackled challenges such as the Barbary Wars and the controversial Embargo Act of 1807, which, aimed at maintaining American neutrality during the Napoleonic Wars, ended up hampering American trade and was deeply unpopular. His leadership during these tumultuous times was marked by significant achievements and notable setbacks, reflecting the complexities of governing a rapidly expanding and diverse nation. Away from the public eye, Jefferson's personal life unfolded at Monticello, his iconic home in Virginia, which he designed and began building in 1768. Monticello was not just his home, but a manifestation of his varied interests, from architecture to agriculture. Jefferson was widowed in 1782 after his wife, Martha Wales Skelton, died following a decade of marriage. He remained a devoted father to his surviving daughters, Martha and Mary, and his home became a vibrant center for educational pursuit and philosophical discourse. His architectural designs for Monticello, influenced by the neoclassical style, reflected his deep appreciation for European architecture, which he believed embodied the classical virtues of harmony and order. Monticello thus stands as a physical representation of Jefferson's ideals and his intellectual pursuits beyond politics. Despite his public advocacy for human liberty, Jefferson's private life was marked by a glaring contradiction. He was a slave owner. His writings occasionally expressed opposition to the institution of slavery, yet he maintained a plantation economy reliant on slave labor. This paradox is most evident in his proposed legislation for gradual emancipation, which was met with considerable opposition and ultimately failed to pass. Jefferson's inability to reconcile his philosophical ideals with his economic and social practices reflects a broader American dilemma regarding race and human rights, making his legacy a topic of continued debate and re-evaluation. Central to the controversy over Jefferson's legacy is his relationship with Sally Hemings, an enslaved woman at Monticello who bore several children believed to be Jefferson's. Modern DNA evidence supports the historical accounts of their relationship. which had been a subject of speculation and denial for centuries. This relationship highlights the complex dynamics of power, race, and family in Jefferson's life, and it challenges the more sanitized narratives of his legacy. The story of Sally Hemings and her children forces a re-evaluation of Jefferson not just as a political figure, but as a man enmeshed within the very institution he occasionally critiqued. Beyond his political and personal life, Jefferson's contributions to education and architecture also form a significant part of his legacy. His founding of the University of Virginia was an embodiment of his Enlightenment ideals, promoting education free from religious doctrine and centered on the liberal arts and sciences. Jefferson's design of the university's campus, characterized by the iconic rotunda and serpentine walls, reflects his belief in the aesthetic and moral value of classical architecture. His educational philosophy and architectural designs were aimed at fostering a well-informed citizenry, which he saw as essential to the health and longevity of the Republic. After his presidency, Jefferson retired to Monticello, where he continued to engage in a wide range of intellectual pursuits. His correspondence with fellow founders, his continued advocacy for educational reforms, and his efforts to manage his extensive estate occupied his final years. Even in retirement, Jefferson remained a revered figure in American public life, frequently consulted by political leaders and revered as a sage of the Republic. His final years were marked by efforts to solidify his legacy, particularly through the establishment of the University of Virginia and by reflections on his extensive public career. Jefferson died on July 4, 1826, exactly 50 years after the adoption of the Declaration of Independence, a symbolic echo of his profound impact on the nation. His death on the same day as John Adams was seen as a poignant marker of the end of an era. Jefferson's legacy is complex and multifaceted. It encompasses his contributions to the establishment of a democratic republic and reflects the enduring tensions in American society. His writings and political actions continue to be studied and debated, and his vision of liberty and equality continues to influence discussions about democracy and human rights around the world. Reflecting on Jefferson's life, one cannot help but confront the contradictions that defined him. He was a proponent of liberty who owned slaves, a populist who maintained an aristocratic lifestyle, and a champion of frugality who died deeply in debt. These contradictions are not merely historical footnotes, they offer critical insights into the complexities of American history and the ongoing struggle to align the nation's practices with its founding ideals. Jefferson's life invites a critical examination of the ideals of liberty and democracy, challenging us to consider how these principles are applied and who they include. Today, Jefferson's ideas and writings remain relevant as societies continue to grapple with questions of liberty, democracy, and human rights. His vision for America as a beacon of freedom and knowledge resonates in contemporary debates about governance, civil rights, and education. The challenges and contradictions of Jefferson's time are echoed in modern issues such as racial inequality and the balance between state and federal power. His writings offer a window into the foundational ideals of the American Republic and serve as a reminder of the ongoing work needed to realize those ideals. Thomas Jefferson's legacy is a tapestry woven through with threads of visionary leadership and profound contradictions. His life encapsulates the complexities of the American experience, its ideals, its contradictions, and its ongoing quest for a more perfect union. As we reflect on his contributions and the controversies that surround him, we gain a deeper understanding of the enduring challenges that face any society striving to live up to its highest ideals. Jefferson's story is not just about a founding father, but about the ongoing American experiment in liberty and democracy. Bibliography: John Meacham, Thomas Jefferson, The Art of Power, Random House, 2012. Joseph J. Ellis, American Sphinx, The Character of Thomas Jefferson, Vintage, 1998. Annette Gordon Reed, The Hemmingses of Monticello, An American Family, W. N. Norton and Company, 2009. Dumas Malone Jefferson and His Time, Little Brown and Company, 1948 to 1981. Appendices, detailed timelines, additional letters, architectural drawings, and legislative records related to Thomas Jefferson's public and private life.